Diary of a Man in Despair. Friedrich Reck. September 1941.
This is how we live in Germany today. Monday, a gigantic victory is announced. Tuesday, not a soul can remember what it was. Huge numbers of prisoners are reported captured, no one believes the figures. Day in and day out, trumpets on the radio announce more victories, and we switch off as soon as we hear the first notes of the fanfare, with a feeling of insult. I don't know why it is that nothing remains in people's minds about these most gigantic pincer movements of all times, or of these trapped enemy armies many times bigger than at Sedan, or little more, anyway, than about the latest foot-and-mouth epidemic, or the fact that the ground frost is early this year, but so it is. Sometimes I think it is because of our general termite heap condition, the termites being incapable of awareness of things outside the heap. I ponder this for a moment, and then I reject the idea. There is something else here, something more complex, something quite eerie, not quite to be put into words. I do not know what it is, but I feel, as other people feel, that it is there and goes about in our midst, invisible. If, despite my expectations, the facts really turn out to accord with the propaganda, I will nevertheless feel what I now do. These things are beyond history. Another example of our living beyond history, Herr Bruno Brehm, who just a few years ago was a fixture in the anterooms of Jewish literati, writes gory dispatches from Lemberg about the corpses found there and supposed to be the work of the Chayka, and blames it all on the Jews. And so, without honor or truth or justice, we vegetate here. The lower classes, which we can say includes everybody but swastika wearers, do not have enough food. The bureaucracy, former tailors' apprentices, bank trainees, and seminarians and theology students, calls for the hard life of the front line, and lives on diplomat ration stamps, worth 3 times the ordinary food stamp. Recently, when Herr Gauleiter Wagner honored our little town with his presence, practically every chicken in the area was slaughtered to meet the needs of his entourage of drunkards and felons. Herr Hitler has his own private vegetable farm in Soln, near Munich, where SS guards patrol an electrically charged fence enclosing the hothouses of our vegetarian Tamerlane. In the meantime, the plebes are feeling the full fury of a German food industry gone chemical crazy. Sugar is now made out of firwood pulp, sausage out of beechwood pulp, and the beer is a stinking brew made of whey. Yeast is made out of a chemical, and marmalade is colored to fool people into thinking it is the real thing. The same for butter, except that the coloring matter here also contains a vile and indigestible substance poisonous to the liver and doubtless responsible for the biliousness so common today. Everyone's eyes are yellow, and if I am to believe friends of mine who are doctors, the incidence of cancer has doubled in the last 4 years. A true Prussian, an old hand at improvising his life out of garbage cans, is in his glory when he can sweep away the natural abundance of Germany, which is more than enough to satisfy demand, and put in its place the substitute, the ersatz. Canned vegetables are also artificially colored. The wine, except for what is guzzled by young officers, or black-marketed by army paymasters, is unholy snake poison. The soap stinks as badly as New German corruption, and the soles of the ski shoes I bought last winter after a series of battles over the ration coupon, turned into a sodden mess of cardboard after a half-hour's walking. There is a story about a man who was clapped on the shoulder of his wood synthetic suit by a friend, and absent-mindedly invited him to come in. The consequences of all this are already beginning to be apparent. As a result of the fermentation and gas resulting from pulpy, clayey bread, the air in the cafes is pestilential. No one even bothers anymore to hold back his wind. As a result of this systematic poisoning of the blood, people go about with boils and abscesses and their body liquids are fouled. The daily hunt for immediate necessities and envy of one's darling neighbors have combined to produce a nastiness, and a slackness in behavior, such as would have been impossible even a short time ago. A very chic and expensive sailing school, catering to the daughters of industrialists, is located on the lake nearby. Externally, it is a highly snobbish affair, but actually it is a little whorehouse, where the slim young things sleep with their bluff and rough and oh so marvelously brutal instructors. And in the cafe of the little village on the lake I heard the plump wife of Göring's personal physician give the details, in extenso, to her companion on exactly how the artificial insemination of Frau Göring had been achieved. The absence of the men has led to grotesque situations. Since French prisoners of war are considered delectable, if forbidden fruit, it has happened in North Germany that a peasant woman will hide a Frenchman under her wheelbarrow load of potatoes and so smuggle him into her house. In a village near here, the 30-year-old straw widow of a peasant off fighting in Russia strangled her 2 children by her 65-year-old father-in-law, on the moor. In my own basically highly moral little town, boulevard life has been introduced by North German females sent here by the Nazi Mother and Child Organization, and the infection has spread to a portion of the native population. With the prisoner of war camp guards, the women have set up an Isle of Delight here. Recently, on my way to town I heard loud cries for help. What had happened was that one of these females had not paid attention to her 3-year-old, and just while Madame was dallying with her lover, the child had fallen into the river and was drowned. I spent an hour trying to revive the infant, to no effect. The child was dead. The lady finally appeared, and although she played to the hilt the role of tragically bereft mother, that very evening I saw her promenading with her friend in front of the windows behind which her dead child was lying. This was too much. That night, the village entertained the lady with a real cats concert, ewers, fire horns, firefighting equipment. It was almost in the style of the old Habern, which up to 50 years ago ensured propriety in the villages in the simplest and most effective way possible, and which was unfortunately outlawed through the intervention of ignorant priests. But now it begins to appear that a number of things which were supposed to have been finished are coming to life again, as such things do, on occasion, good and evil, the gods and the evil spirits of greed and bestiality. I do not know if the end of the world is at hand, as Dostoevsky said. But this I do know, that these are years of a turning in human affairs which can never be changed again, and that the tyranny of an arrogant civilization is at an end.